She was on her knees and rubbing her back against parts of the house and backing into corners and sliding out from under curtains, polishing the floor, and she was saying, "Sit with me, Alice." She was saying, "Talk to me, be a daughter, tell me what you've been doing." She spoke uninflectedly, as if thinking of something else, the dishes to do, drawers to line, clotted screens to clean out with a toothpick, handles missing, silver gone, and a Walter in the next room, unwilling to leave. Bitch, 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 the sound the broomsticks made against the floor, and Mother's nettled cleaning and talking to herself, asking, "What am I doing? What does it look like I'm doing?" "You are stupid," I overheard Walter say to my mother. "You'd be better off dead." And Walter was as smart as any professor. He was the first to admit it, saying to my mother, "Why are you so stupid? Stupid about composers and who was playing, stupid about motherhood and about how much money she had. Why didn't she know? Why didn't she plan ahead? Why was it always up to him to think it out for her?" Walter sat in the armchair and sipped at his whiskey and held out a hand no one took. With my father, it had been different. At the restaurant one winter afternoon, months before he died, he made a scene. We dragged the waiter into our story. We were the last to leave. I danced around the heavy black tables and the matching chairs. I spun on the bar stools and watched the TV. Mother cried, and she let herself be kissed. "We're drunk," Mother said. "We are." "Open wide," my father was saying to her, and then to me, "Open wider." One winter afternoon, an entire winter, it was my father who was taking us. Father and Mother and I, we were going to Florida. Who knew for how long? I listened in at the breakfast table whenever I heard talk of sunshine. I asked questions about our living there that made them smile. We all smiled a lot at the breakfast table. We ate sectioned fruit capped with bleedy maraschinos, my favorite. The squeezed juice of the grapefruit was grainy with sugar and pulpy, sweet, pink. Could I have more? I asked, and my father said sure. In Florida, he said, it was good health all the time. No winter coats in Florida, no boots, no chains, no salt, no plows and shovels. In the balmy state of Florida, fruit fell in the meanest yard, sweets, nuts, saltwater taffies in seashell colors. In the Florida we were headed for, the afternoon was swizzled drinks and cherries to eat, stem and all. Here's to you, here's to me, here's to our new home. One winter afternoon in our favorite restaurant, there was Florida in our future, while I was licking at the foam on the fluted glass, biting the rind and licking sugar, waiting for what was promised, the maraschino cherry, ever sweet, every time. Wavy grounds, old trees, floating nurses. Mother called it the San. I visited only once, too scared to go again, and remember that Mother's shirtwaist dress no longer fit and strained the pin that pinned her. "Ouch," she said, a baby-voiced girl, and she fiddled off the pinhead, then started to cry, saying, "Now I can't stand up," speaking as if to someone else, though there was no one else but me in her room at the time. "I can't see my little girl off. My skirt will fall down and my Alice will be embarrassed." I was embarrassed by her and glad to leave Mother behind, and took the stairs which were fastest to the car where Aunt Frances was talking to a doctor and Arthur was waiting to drive us away. Arthur had, as part of his job, driving to do. Arthur was driving again. He was driving past shapes crouched in sleeping fields, past unplowed snows and smokeless chimneys, grimaced light and hard snows, loose doors, abandonment. Is it time to go to Uncle Billy's? I asked. Are we here already? Here at Arlette's, at Nona's, at Uncle Billy's, at Nona's. No logic to the rotation, no meaning I could figure except to know the first house and the last at different ends of the lake. Uncle Billy's house was first. Brick walk, cold wind, water, roughing against the shore. I saw the water's darkness in the distance when so much else was under snow. But the ledges from the rock gardens jutted out like tongues, and the trees standing before the moon were reprimanded. The moon was a scold. Outside, after dark, is for animals, Uncle Billy said. Come inside, where it is warm. Mother had used overcooked bacon for a bookmark, or a hairpin, stick of gum, sucker stick, twig, whatever was at hand. Her books were paperbacks, she said, and it didn't matter how the water swelled, pages fanned, dried, stuck together. Paperbacks, she always said, a great invention. I read the way my mother did. I am impatient. I cut the uncut pages in Uncle Billy's fancy books, sets of Tarkington and Conrad, with my fingers for a knife until, found out, Uncle Billy takes away my ragged, bleak house. At Uncle Billy's, I learned to read behind the curtains in the guest room's dresser skirt. Books, the orphan's consolation. That head I see now, has it other furniture within? I wanted my own Mr. Rochester and found him in the shape of Mr. Early, high school English, last 2 years. By 17, I had guessed that the really great loneliness of James's governess might account for the ghost on the other side of the lake. If the head was a room, I wanted mine cluttered, stuffed, Victorian style. I wanted Mr. Early's praise, but the rebuking length of Mr. Early's sentences and the speed with which he delivered them often left me dumb and angry, and the only assuagement was he spit. Pinball body, angry nose, and bald spot. Mr. Early was a class joke except for what he said. When he spoke then, the dwarfing capaciousness of his complex speech and the seriousness of his sentiments made us quiet. Once, bending to where I sat, shaking my hand out of cramp, he rolled my pen into the pencil groove, stroked my arm, and said, "Dear Alice, you don't have to tell the whole story." Yet I wanted him to know how well I knew the story, better than anyone else, because I was not like anyone else, but special, inward, informed. I wanted to say, I have seen such things.